Mockups are a huge part of your print-on-demand strategy or your marketing strategy in general. And so today I'm going to walk you through all of the different options that you have for creating mockups, whether that be ordering a sample or utilizing digital technology to create these mockups, so you can choose the best option that fits in for you. The mockup is the thing that is going to make people actually want to click on your product and explore all the different features of it, the colors that you offer, the sizing, where it's made, the shipping timing, all of those different pieces. But the mockup picture and pricing strategy are two of the number one things that are important for your strategy. And there are a ton of different methods out there for actually creating mockups. And so today, this is just going to be a masterclass on all the different options, because there's quite a few and they're changing at all points. You've probably seen a couple of mockups and been like, whoa, how did they do that? And so hopefully I can explain how some of those are being made. So I'll start with the OG, the number one, something that I recommend that everybody does at least once or twice for their shop, and that is going to be ordering a sample. Now, obviously with print on demand, a really big benefit of this business model is that we don't have to own a bunch of inventory, but if you have the financial ability to order a couple of different samples and actually have physical goods of that product, that will be really helpful in creating a couple mockups that are super organic and actually realistic to what the customer is going to receive. It's also a really good idea to make sure that you're kind of doing a little bit of quality control and checking in to make sure that the product is actually being placed on the t-shirt or on the mug where you think it is, so that way your actual mockups match more closely. The second way to create mockups is to use software to generate those mockups for you. And so you can use platforms like Kittl or Chatgpt to actually go ahead and create a mockup of whatever your design actually is. And so for example, here on the screen, I'm on Kittl. I have a couple of different designs that I made a while ago, and they give you some options when you've completed your design to actually just create mockups straight off the bat on this platform. And so if you click onto the design that you're trying to edit, you'll see this tool pop up on Kittl that says mockup. So I'll click onto this. This is included with your paid subscription. Not sponsored here, but it is a really good way to have additional access to mockups. So you can kind of have a pulse check on what that would look like. From there, you'll be able to kind of choose which type of product you want to make that mockup for and kind of tweak and edit your mockup to make sense. As you can see here, they'll kind of have it shift a little bit. So it's a little bit more realistic to how it would curve on the body than some other ways that I'll show you soon. And it's directly within the platform. So you don't have to download and export and then upload and do a bunch of things. You can actually just design it and do the mockups directly on this platform. Keep in mind here that you are limited. You don't exactly know what the make and model is of this t-shirt. While we don't know what the exact model of this t-shirt is, Kittl does actually have specific product images of very popular print-on-demand t-shirts. For example, if you scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see some of the more popular models here, the Comfort Color 1717 with the flat lay image, a little bit more streetwear, a little bit more rustic, and again, really seamless with how you can have this design just placed right here, close to how you would design it on Printify. But just keep in mind that these aren't always going to be perfect, but it's a really great way for you to very easily and quickly generate mockups. That is no additional dollars if you already pay for the software, and likely really strong for the streetwear vertical and just style aesthetics that kind of exist across a range of shops. The next method is also super easy and is pretty adjacent to the design platform. Obviously, the first step is going to be designing. The second step is going to be placing that on your actual print-on-demand provider product blank. With most print-on-demand products, we do not want to be utilizing the mockups that are generated with the platform. Printify has some interesting garment mockups, but for the most part, we don't use these mockups. However, there are some rare circumstances where the mockups are pretty good. One of those is actually going to be their candles. So I'll click into one of the candles here that I generated a while ago, and they have some pretty decent mockup images for this product in particular. For example, if you go into the mockup generator and the mockup view, you'll be able to see some of these concepts and context that are actually pretty good. It appropriately wraps around the candle. We see cool different images that are a little bit like dark and stormy. We also have like a desk example over here too. So some really good examples of how if you hit a good product, it looks really good. Another example that I've seen that has actually really good mock-ups is going to be wrapping paper. So definitely try and play around with the different products that you're listing to see if there's anything that looks good. Most of the time, you're not going to really want to use these images, but for circumstances like this, they're actually pretty good. The other way that you're actually going to be able to create these mockups is a little bit more of the manual way, a little bit more of the OG way, but still very well utilized across the print on demand space. And that's going to be actually just buying the mockup, so buying an image and overlaying your design on top of that image. And the way that you buy these images is kind of across the board. But what I like to do is I like to go over to Etsy and see which products are trending well. So I like to use my Everbee extension to come over and type in mockup to see which mockup shops are trending to the top. And there's a couple schools of thoughts here. And that might be like, wow, I don't want to buy the mockups that have the highest sales because then my products aren't going to stand out. Others like to actually take a look at those shops, and there's a probably accurate description here that if there are a lot of sales being driven through that shop, those mockups are resonating well and working well for the buyers. And so I'll always take a look at these to see which ones are rising to the top. I personally have bought mocks from several of these different shops. I really like Goldie Mock Studio. I really like Trendsetter Mockups as well. Keep an eye on their bundles because if you just buy one, it gets a little bit expensive. But immediately off the top here, you can see using Everbee that if you buy 3, you can save up to 65% just off the top right there. So utilize Everbee to find these types of insights as well. In addition to that, I always like to use Everbee to just take a look at t-shirts to see what mockups are the products that have the highest sales associated with. And that will help me get a better understanding on what are people buying that's in this space that I might be able to adapt into my own types of design styles. So as you can see, a lot of these are kind of standard with lifestyle types of images. So it's actually people wearing the t-shirt and showing it on in front of a mirror. We used to see a lot more of the flat lays come through, but in the more recent top trending designs, we're mainly seeing people actually wearing the product rise to the top when it comes to total sales volume. So keep that in mind as you're considering which mockups you want to sell with. Once you come back over to Canva and actually download the images that you have purchased, that is when you'll just basically be able to overlay the design that you've created, whether that be on Kittl or on Canva, onto your designs to then change the opacity a little bit and make them a bit more realistic to the way you built them on Printify. So for example, I'm just grabbing this simple design that says Hot Girls Read Books. This is approximately where I would typically put it from my design on Printify. I'll change the opacity to be more in line with kind of how that print would show up. Centering it, take a look at how it make sure that you're kind of tweaking it if you need to spin this around. For the most part, I don't think I need to do that here. But that's basically all that I would do is download this. I've also added in a kind of color description as well, so people know what this color is. Other interesting things that you can do to these is adding in kind of another blurb here that might say more colors available, or if you're offering a personalized design, adding in a little call out that says personalizable. So it just showcases that this is, there's more options once they actually click on the actual product. The last way that I'll cover for creating mockups is a bit more nuanced for things that are not meant to be flat. And the examples of that are kind of like the candles, and why those special mockups that we saw on Printify actually perform really well is whenever you're trying to do a mockup on something that is not flat, it's a little bit tricky to do that digitally because naturally there's going to be kind of curves that flow and ebb with that. And so it's a little bit harder to make that match up and look realistic. So for example, here we have a mockup of a candle that is meant to be a little bit more rounded. Another area of product that is a little bit tricky to do this with are going to be mugs or tumblers. The way that we are able to get this to be a little bit more round is actually through something called PSD files, otherwise referred to as smart mockups. And what that basically just means is that it gives you more of that curvature and it's a specialized type of design that we have to actually tweak and edit. So the way that you do that is you're going to once again have to buy those files, or if you have them somewhere for free, that's great too, but likely you're going to have to buy those files. And so if you go onto Etsy, once again, you'll be able to find things that are called smart mockups or PSD files. Once you find one that you like, you'll go over to a software called Photopea. If you have Photoshop, you can definitely use Photoshop as well. Photopea is just basically the free version of Photoshop, so that's kind of what I use instead. Once you're on Photopea, you're going to open up the smart object and the smart mockup that you just downloaded. Once you have that uploading, you'll soon see that it kind of opens up in a window here, and you kind of have access to all of the different layers on the right-hand side. From there, you're gonna double click into this box. It's kind of tricky, but go to the right of the green eyeball, double click into that image. What that will do is it'll take you over to this design where you can see kind of the label that we're going to change out with what we want to add. Now there's a couple of ways to do this. If you're just doing it a one-off, you can drag in one image and I'll show you how to do that. Or if you have you're making 100 mockups, you can actually drag all of those over at once, and then it'll speed up the process later on for being able to save this file and export it in a second. From here, once you have this open, what we want to do is we want to drag our image of what we want to overlay here over to the right-hand panel. Once you do that, you'll see it kind of hidden behind here. The reason you're not able to see it is that these eyeballs are on, meaning that they're just putting these layers above this image. You're going to want to drag yours above and turn off the top image. Couple of ways here that you can make this go a little bit faster. If you don't want to have to resize your image on top of here, you'll have to go in and make sure that you've saved your files to be the exact dimensions of the smart mockup that you've downloaded. So you'd have to have those pixels match up perfectly with the 1223 by 918. Otherwise, you'll basically have to edit this so you can transform it a bit to be a bit bigger. Once I hit free transform, I'm able to move it around and basically just blow it up. So make sure that I'm not doing this with much care, but make sure that you're making this the size dimensions that make sense for the product that you're trying to kind of launch here. Once you have it laid in place there, you'll go over to File and you'll hit Save Smart Object. You'll see an alert that came on that said Smart Object Updated, and then when you come back over to the other image, you'll see that it has added in the new label that you've created and curved it around the candle exactly in more of that three-dimensional way that is more realistic. If we had just laid on this square picture, it would look very bad. So from here, that's where you can actually just download this image and upload that as your mockup. Those are all the different ways that you can create mockups for your print-on-demand products. The first one being actually ordering a sample, which I love and definitely would recommend that you do a little bit of. The other reason there is you can take a video with that product and upload that for a lot of your listings to showcase that you have these real products and the experience and kind of quality that your customers are going to get. You can also utilize design software like Kittl or Chatgpt to take a image and then ask it to create a mockup for you, whether that's a standardized process like on Kittl or uploading your design and saying, hey, put this onto a mockup with a lifestyle image, and you can add in designs like have it be grunge style or all types of different design aesthetics. You can also utilize the mockups directly into your print manufacturers like Printify, but exclusively for those products that the mockups are actually good. So think candles, think wrapping paper. I'm sure there's a lot of examples that I'm missing, but take a look at those and use some design sense to make sure that it looks good. You can also just buy the images off of Etsy and then upload your own designs onto that and kind of overlay them, tweak the coloring so you can make them look as realistic as possible. Or you can use the smart mockups and the PSD files utilizing Photopea to actually make more of that rounded and three-dimensional look to them. Hopefully this was helpful. Please like and subscribe for more content like this.